So hop over here. I'm Joe Warbington, the Industry Solutions Director at Vizlib. A little on my background, and if you haven't followed me on Twitter or LinkedIn, I tend to post a fair bit of things around the Qlik and Vizlib ecosystems, trying to highlight some fun examples from things, and love sharing stories. So be sure to get out there and follow some of those things so you can stay up to date on what's going on. And if I'm not familiar to you all, I've been at Vizlib for a few months now. We're coming up on the end of the year, so I think I'm at 5 months or so. And I spent close to almost 6 years at Qlik on the healthcare team. So some of my examples today will be around healthcare, but I also cover all the other industries that Vizlib covers. And so we'll have some other fun things to show you what we're doing. Wanted to start with just a few slides on Vizlib, and then we're going to spend the bulk of the session with the stories, with some of the examples that I have, some fun things. And I think importantly, we're going to take apart a few of those visualizations so you can see how you can do this on your own. If you're not aware, Vizlib is Qlik's leading technology partner for value-added products. We add in very feature-rich visualizations, the ability to customize things, to work with your different visualizations, to have the ability to customize any look and feel down to the very pixel of your dashboards, and we're fully supported. So when you put our extensions, our value-added products in place, like our visualizations, you can be sure that when Qlik updates to the next version, we'll be right there and supporting your version of Qlik Sense as well. So we're part of Qlik's trusted extension developer program as well, which means we work very closely with Qlik as they're releasing new products, as they're upgrading things. We're on the beta test side, so we get to work with them and make sure everything works perfectly for you. Our value proposition, as I kind of mentioned, is being able to add in these features that you may have had in other tools like QlikView or other things that shouldn't be mentioned. The ability to have this different functionality, features in different charts, we add in that element, and giving you the ability to customize everything just like you'd have in QlikView. I like to think about it like Photoshop. You can really customize each and every angle of your application now with our controls, with our products. And we're fully supported around the globe, 18 plus experts helping you in many different languages to really make sure that you can solve your business problems using data. We have 4 offices globally. The closest one is New York for me. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, and it is a very balmy 13 degrees today. So I have to wear my Vizlib hoodie most days that I'm working. And we're I think right at 50 employees or so, over knocking on the door 500 enterprise customers across all the verticals. So when you reach out to us and ask questions, we probably have a customer that has done something similar in your same space. So we have examples for many different things, and we're continuing to build that up. Our product family is where you get to explore what we do. These add-ons, these value-added products for Qlik Sense allow you to do different things, and I'm going to spend some time on a little bit of these. Most of my work for the data storytelling will be around the Vizlib library, which I think is the one we're probably most known for at Vizlib, and that's a set of 22 plus extensions, visualizations that are highly customizable, that allow you to change the entire look and feel of your applications. And I'll take you through a couple of those examples. The 2 in the middle, the self-service and the finance report, allow you to work with different folks within your organization that are not full developers, but they have specific needs around self-service analytics. They need to do a little ad hoc reporting, or in the case of the finance report, they are they're working that specific function. And then a little bit on collaboration, which is our newest product as of this week, but maybe later this week there may be another one that I'll touch on. And collaboration allows you to have a threaded commentary within your Qlik Sense application. It's just a quick peek at what's in each product. Here are the different visualizations, a couple examples of what you can do with the library. Some pretty awesome things are being done here in Vizlib, and this is what attracted me to the company a number of years ago, was the ability to create things that you just couldn't do in Qlik Sense and really customize it, the look and feel of the applications. We'll also get into adding some features that you might want, like advanced analytics, being able to turn on a switch and do some forecasting automatically. So we're adding in capabilities to the visualizations as well. Vizlib self-service, as I mentioned, is something folks from the QlikView world might be very familiar with, which is building out a particular view within your application where people can pick from a list of dimensions and measures and create a report on the fly. So they don't have to go back to IT. They don't have to even hit the edit button in Qlik Sense. They're simply dragging and dropping or clicking dimensions and measures that they want to build out. But we also allow them to create visualizations on the fly with some quick actions. You can see that next to the small report title, there's the ability to switch this data into a nice combo chart. So this is our ad hoc reporting solution for Qlik Sense. It's one simple product that you drop in and allows you to customize what you're looking at. The finance report, as I mentioned, is like a P&L or balance sheet or cash flow report on steroids. And we have the ability to, as much as it pains me, export to Excel in a pixel perfect way. So you're going to see exactly what you see on the screen in Qlik Sense in your Excel exports. Even to the point where if you make comments within the particular fields, you approve a particular line, those comments come across, which is what you're seeing on the right-hand side there. So pretty powerful for your finance team. So it's a dedicated product for those folks to really accelerate that area. And then collaboration allows you to have, as I said, like a threaded commentary within your applications. You can make comments on visualizations, you can make comments on the sheet level, and that allows you to stay in the flow. If somebody finds some anomaly, you know, something spiked or there's an outlier, you can click on that visualization, you can make a comment, give a reason why that's maybe happening, tag somebody else in it, so you know, that next person in can review that, and you can also ship it out to them in the collaboration platform of your choice, like Slack, Microsoft Teams, and even just emailing them. And what it will provide them with is a link back to the application with those exact selections made where you made that insight, and highlighted, it will highlight the particular comment that you made at that point in time. So people stay in the flow of the data. It's not a lot of exporting and then people making comments and trying to figure out what happened. It allows you to stay inside of an application and really change the way you work with your data. And then coming soon, we're right on the cusp of releasing our Gantt chart, which is everything I've seen is one of the most intuitive project planning extensions that are available for Qlik Sense. And we're adding a lot of great features here, like the ability to have tooltips to see how far along you are in a particular task, and everything that you'd expect from a Gantt chart, like milestones and multiple groupings. So I don't have anything to show you on this yet today, but I know we have an announcement pending. So I wanted to give you a quick little preview of that. And last little bit before we jump right in is maybe a quote a few of you have heard before: "In God we trust, all others must bring data." It's from William Edwards Deming. He's a statistician that made this quote. I think it's interesting. And I think many people have tried this to just, you know, give folks the data. But I think we all know you can't just give somebody data that's just ones and zeros. How are they going to use it? Where are they going to find meaning in it? So I added this little bit that you please make it a good story if you're going to give somebody your data. So that's what we're going to get into, is how can we use the information that you've been working on? How can we present it in different ways that maybe engage the audience better? And create that that adoption in your BI that you'd like to have. So let me turn off my webcam here while I take you through 3 or 4 different things. First, we're going to start with, if anybody knows what this one is on the screen, it's the Stanley Cup. It's awarded to the the championship and the National Hockey League. And so I have a little bit of a hockey example to show you how we're using some data from a sports data set. So that's going to be the first one. Every time I show you an example, we're going to take it apart too to show you how I built it. The next one is a hospital bed. So coming back to my healthcare days, I'll show you how we took a particular process from an Excel-based process into a Qlik Sense application and really allowed that particular team that is focused on making sure hospital beds are ready for the next patient. On the last one, it's really just a fun one that I came up with just in the last few weeks, is how can I customize our analytics to look like what superheroes use? So I took some of the inspiration from Avengers and Iron Man and created a couple different applications that have a unique user interface that I think is pretty fun and engaging. I want to show you how we built those. So we should be seeing Qlik Sense now. I'm going to go through some of these. I may need to refresh the screen from time to time, but we're starting with the hockey app. So let my screen catch up here. So this is the type of data that you typically see on like a sports website. I'll just full screen it here. Let me get some of the other stuff out of the way. You see, Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Red Wings. The blue team won. It was 5-2. And you see a couple of their stats kind of broken out. You can see, obviously Toronto won here because they were stronger on a lot of things, especially having more shots than the Wings. This is the type of data that you'd see. If you're a sports junkie, maybe you're just like salivating over this. But I wanted to see it a little different. I was out in Toronto when this game happened and had a little presentation. So I pulled the data where I could on the positions of the players during particular time in the game. So what you're seeing here is a representation of the actual game of the players. And we're using the Vizlib scatter plot here to do this work. Now, if I click on a player, we'll see the trail of where that player was during a particular set of time. And we can pick another player on the other team, and kind of fun to see how they were in a little bit of a tussle here. But as I move this particular player, I can drag with my mouse along. I'm actually seeing how the data is changing over time. And with these trails, it shows me where things are happening. So just because this is a sports example doesn't mean it doesn't have applicability in your particular field of work. You probably have some information on a scatter plot, and there's a time element to it as well, which is what you're seeing in light gray in the background. This particular point in time, up to the second, is when something's happened. So you can use the scatter plot to, for instance, show how a particular set of metrics has moved over time. And instead of doing the old way, which is you pick a particular date, maybe a year, you look at the metrics, then you pick another year, and you have to do that mental math or mental gymnastics to figure out how these things changed. You can use these snail trails, as we're affectionately calling them, to see how the data has moved over time. So a really fun way to look at your data and how it can be explored. To show you how we'll build this, I'll just hit edit here and duplicate this screen. And you'll see that this is our scatter plot. It has dimensions and measures. And maybe you're used to a particular scatter plot only having one dimension, which is the dot. The measures in our case are the position on the particular screen, or latitude and longitude. And the timestamp is the element that allows us to add in the time element in the snail trail. So you probably already have a scatter plot available today in many of your applications. You can use ours, drag it across, convert it, and then add in this time element. And with a couple different things, you can have something that looks like this. To get the rink in the background, which is, I think, really the engaging part, we use things like reference areas. You may be familiar with reference lines, but we can actually pull in visualizations, or I'm sorry, images. In this case, we're telling it where to put a particular logo, like the Maple Leafs logo, and in one of these is going to be the actual rink itself. So using reference lines and positions, let's see if I got that one. Here's the rink. That's what's in the background. You can control, what it looks like, the opacity, so make it a little lighter so things stand out more. In that case, I'm just changing the Red Wings logo, but allows you to position elements on top of or behind your data on your scatter plot. It adds a lot more context. And think about it like in a lot of spaces, you might have different quadrants of your scatter plot that are good, that are bad, that are where you want to be. So you can color code or put an image in the background and see where the dots lie within those different reference areas. So pretty quick to be able to add that type of thing on. Just got to find the right image. Google Images is your best friend here. So that was a little quick hockey one. I took it a little bit further because I wanted to see if I could get even more data, not just the positions at a particular point in time, but like all of the shots that were ever made by a hockey team. And was able to find this very extensive data set on multiple years, I think 9 years, 9 seasons across all the NHL teams. And I used that same concept of the scatter plot with a background image to show us some maybe interesting things. And here I did a little different. I color coded the dots from light blue all the way to dark purple or dark red to show the number of successes in that particular area. So we can see there's a grouping of shots here under goals where the team actually made a point, and you can see most of the goals happen near the goal. That kind of makes sense. And you can also see where blocked shots happened. The goalie here on the home team gets a lot of shots here, but there's a few that are kind of outliers. And this is just an indication of how that team was doing, and maybe the probability of making or blocking a shot can depend on the distance and the position to the goalie. But wanted to say, can I keep showing even more data? So I'm going to clear the season, and we're going to look at all of the shots that Detroit Red Wings have made over 9 seasons, and we're getting into tens of thousands of points on a scatter plot. And this is what it's doing is it's using the Qlik engine behind the scenes to compute the positions of things and then painting that on our diagram. And you'll see as it's pulling these in, this is something that the native scatter plot in Qlik Sense will group these into buckets, and you'll have like those darker blue boxes. Here, I wanted to keep each point as is and use the intensity of the color so it really shines, and everything on here is an individual point of data. So we're showing here that our visualizations can handle lots of data. It's going to work with you and be able to perform to your needs. So the same thing here. I'm not going to take this one apart because it's very similar to the last one. It's just the scatter plot with the background and using some of the positional data. I just wanted to kind of push the boundaries of what we could do there. So let me take a quick break here, look over at the chat window before we jump to the next one and grab a sip of coffee. Are there any questions so far? We just really covered a scatter plot example. And I'll keep watching, but we'll keep moving along as well. So this next one is the hospital bed example. The team is called Environmental Services, or EVS, and this team is responsible for making sure in a hospital that the rooms are clean, that the beds are ready for the next patient. So this is a team of housekeepers, janitors, people that run and make sure instruments and things are available for the room, and people that check off that it is clean enough for that next patient, it's safe. It's a very important element in a hospital system to make sure that room is ready. And you have to think about it. If that room's not ready, you as a patient, you're waiting for that. There's a care element. You can't take care of the patient until they have a bed. So it's important to speed that up. And also, it has to be clean to a certain standard. So it will always take some amount of time. And we were able to obviously visualize that, what the average turnaround time is. In this particular organization, set it at 75 minutes. But this was what their process was for years prior to Qlik. They were having data analysts extract this data from the various systems, put in some nice readable column names like the event, protocols, the name of the bed, instead of database names that nobody could read. And they were putting this data in, the number of hours or the number of minutes that beds would take to clean. Now the director would have to look at this each month and try to figure out where the opportunities are to improve. And I think we all know that can be really challenging when you're just looking at raw data in Excel. But this is the best that they could do with the amount of time. They were only able to generate this on a monthly basis for 1 month of data at a time. And that 1 month was the previous month. So they were already, they might be weeks from when a particular event happened. And the housekeepers could have changed, maybe the different things. They don't have any way to act on this, basically. So we took and pulled this into Qlik Sense very quickly, and we're able to visualize and create a couple of KPIs. Within a matter of a few minutes, maybe an hour of just coming up with the different metrics. Their average turnaround time was 72 minutes, and that's great, right? Their goal was 75. But we knew that there was variation. Sometimes it's going to be worse, sometimes it's going to be better. And so how often were they hitting that? Only 58% of the time. Now, we could have stopped here and gave this to the director and their team, but still, what are you going to do with this? You know that it's up and down. And what does this chart mean? If this is the first time they're seeing a visualization, as simple as a line chart, all they're seeing is, there's ups and downs. What do I do with this? So we took and pulled in our visualization, which is the Vizlib line chart, right on top of the native Qlik Sense one, to add in some more elements to it. And you can see now it's a little bit easier to read because there's a big red X above a red line when it's a bad day, when their average turnaround. Now I have a little bit better, initial first glance at this to tell what's good and what's bad, because we're able to use icons on top of line charts. We're able to add some color to it. This is something that we add in, but this isn't just mildly better. We can do better than this because there are many different factors to how long it takes to turn around a room. And so this is even better. We've created a KPI for the team. It's customized to them. That's their 72 minutes average turnaround time. Their agreement, SLA, their service level agreement, is 75. And the KPI is showing them around the edge here, this activity gauge, how often they're hitting that across this particular time frame. So they're only at like 60-something% here with their particular metric. This KPI is one object. It's a Vizlib KPI designer that allows you to create these things to compactly bring in multiple KPIs, multiple metrics. And you'll see some more examples of how I use this to really customize how things can look. And we have our line chart here. We can add in annotations like a new training program was implemented. So you can drop points in time on your charts, which is really important in many different industries to show when you started a program, say like an improvement program. You spent all this money and time to invest in a new program to change things. Put that on the chart so that you can see going forward, did that particular program pay off? Did it do the things we said it was going to do? And instead of trying to remember when you started that program or implemented that new piece of technology and just trying to remember when that happened, you can just put it on the chart. So annotations are a really great way to add color to your visualization. But I'm sure your eyes are going to these heat maps, which are a great way to show two different dimensions with one measure. And so a 2D heat map shows us this. And in our case, this is time data. So across the top is the hour of the day and then the day of the week. And so we can see, 6 a.m., it takes a little bit longer to turn around a bed in the morning session. That's great. That might be expected. We get more patients coming in there. And then you can see there's really a packing of turnaround time taking longer and longer in this area starting around 3 p.m. We know that was going to happen. The director knew that, but we also grabbed staffing data. And this is where the director said, I know what's going on. I know what I need to do just by looking at this. And you can see it here, right at 2 p.m., there was the highest levels of staffing, and then it drops off a cliff. It goes a lot lower, and it corresponds with the point in time where it takes longer to turn around rooms. So he said, we have a staff change issue. We're sending home, our housekeepers at 2 p.m., and then they're handing over those rooms to clean, and it's taking longer. So if I just stagger staffing, we're gonna have a better idea of what's going on and be able to adapt better. And then we also brought in the number of requests, because I think it's very important to not just show averages, but to show the actual raw data. So you can use a heat map to show not only an average of things like we're doing here, but also the volume of requests for beds. And you could see, yeah, it just seems to be that on Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays, around this time, 2 to 4 p.m., we get more patients that need a bed. And so we should really change our staffing to relate to that. So how do we build one of these? We're going to take apart one of these heat maps so you can see how it's built and how we have some color codes. So if we're looking at requests here, the data is 2 dimensions, as I mentioned, the weekday across the side, the notify hour in this case, or the hour of the day across the top, and then you put in what other measure you want. This is the sum of requests that are coming in. Pretty straightforward there. Where we get into things, you can add in reference lines if you'd like. So maybe at a point in time you want to drop in a line, you can do that here as well. And under appearance is where you can change things like the heat map settings. Maybe you want to actually put the measures inside and show you the numbers. There's a lot going on there, so I tend to not have that on because you can hover over and get that information as a pop-up. You can also change the colors, which I think is the fun part. We add in a bunch of great, and I'm trying to think about the word for this, but a bunch of tested and reliable color schemes. So you're not going too crazy, but this shows like the warm thing, or you might want to do all blues like I did at the top. So you can simply pick a new color palette and it will show you the intensity, which can really make the data jump off the screen. So this is our Vizlib heat map. And as I'm showing this, you can see which version you're on when you go to the About section. You can learn more about the other extensions, see who it's licensed to, and also submit a ticket or get to the documentation quickly. So we build this into all of our visualizations to allow you to get that information very fast and in one area. So if you're not sure how to build this out, you can simply click on documentation. It will take you to the website for that, and you can learn about all the different settings, like the colors, how to pick a particular color scheme, what it means, and that documentation is just built into the visualizations. Okay, I see a few questions before I jump over to the next one. And I'm going to pop that out so I can read it a little bit better. Looks like folks are helping me out here. So in that visual, can you tell me what the colors mean? And this goes back to the hockey one, the shots that were closer to the goal. It's best practice to probably put your legend in there, and you can simply turn that on with our different visualizations. So I should have mentioned, yeah, it was like cold blue to hot red is cold to hot as far as the number of shots that were made. And does Vizlib have sports teams currently using the products? Yes, I can't tell you who those customers are because they have confidentiality agreements, but we do have sports teams of various nature that are customers. Generally, if you know the folks that are Qlik customers that are sports teams, we're also working with a number of those. Can you have a map as your background? Certainly, you can put in whatever image you want. It's the positional data that you either have to come up with, and where can I find these amps? That's a great question. I need to work with my team to get these shared on our, they're on our internal demo site, so we can always show you them. If you want to dig into any of these, I'm happy to jump on a web session. But I will also work to pack these up and make these available to download from our download portal. That's a really good question. So 2 more, and these ones, I will say hands down, it actually made me feel a little bit bad because I'm very passionate about healthcare, have been working in it for over 10 years and had a blast doing it. But when I started working on this stuff related to like Avengers and Marvel and just kind of playing around, I was having a blast. I was working, over the weekends, just having fun. It didn't feel like work at all. And very grateful that I have a job that allows me to do these things and have fun with it. So I can say this is the most fun I've had with Qlik ever since I started working with it, being able to do things like this. So first up, you'll see the screen kind of refresh here as I customize all the look and feel of what's going on here. And this is, I think, as close as I can get in a matter of about, I think, a half an hour is all I worked on this to create a visualization that looks like what Tony Stark and Iron Man would see either within his mask or, on the big screens within his organization, within Stark. And what we're doing here is using theming, I think, all the way across. We have an activity gauge. These numbers kind of don't make any sense. They're just the built-in expressions that you can generate with Qlik to play around with the data. But we put an image behind the scene for Iron Man's mask. We allow you to put images here. And here is our KPI designer. It is actually a combination of, I think, 10 plus, and we'll take a peek at it, layers that allow you to create this visualization. And if I pick some of the different bars, everything is updating because this is all live data in the application. Whether this makes sense to you or not, it probably makes more sense to Iron Man, what's actually going on here. But I wanted to show that there's no limits to what you can build on the screen and make it look a certain way. You have complete control over the look and feel of your applications. And I really actually like this, this table here where we're putting spark lines in. They're heavily color coded to match that and to show that you can make your data fun to play around with. If we hit edit, we're going to take a look at that KPI. That is the Jarvis here. And you can see these layers that I created. Give them little names like Stark Industries is just the icon at the top. And actually, as I hover over these different things, you could see these are all the different layers that we have. The donut ring is a bar chart, or I'm sorry, it's a pie chart that I've created. And I pulled in from my master items. So I controlled it there, and then I can change other things around it. So really, I'm just stacking in different visualizations. To me, this is what I used to do in Qlik View. If I really wanted to show something and highlight it, I might put another chart over top of an existing chart. And here, you have no limits. You can continue to combine things and give it color, give it different descriptions. So even that one that's shaded in the back is another pie chart in the back. So I just had a lot of fun playing around with that. We do give you presets, and we're continuing to build these out. So you don't have to start from scratch, but sometimes that's the fun part, I feel like. But we give you these different KPIs that you can then map to your data. So some really data dense things that become one object that you can then put on the screen wherever you'd like. And it is responsive to the screen. So even better than what Qlik View used to be. We're doing good on time. Didn't see any new questions pop up for these. This last one has a bit more of a story to it. I guess it has some spoilers if you haven't seen Avengers, but according to the data I found, most of the world has seen Avengers. They've made a lot of money at Marvel and Disney around these properties, around comic books. are comic book related movies. And what I did here, just so to orient you to the data set, is I pulled in, box office earnings data related to the top 100 movies that are based on comic book properties. So you can see in the 80s, there were a few things. These were groups like Fox and others that did the Batman movies and things, and there was a little bit of a surge. But I mean, you can see just in the last few years, just the spike in the number of movies that were created around this. But that data it's interesting to an extent. I wanted to create a new way to interact with it. And so what better than to use the Infinity Stones and the Infinity Gauntlet. So if I go over here and I click on the red Infinity Stone, the Soul Stone, if I get that right, it changes the look and feel of this entire side. Now everything is in red. It highlights that that's what I'm looking at. Now we're looking at earnings, and I want to show a couple different visualizations as well. If we go to blue, we'll see a scatter plot, which shows us that Avengers Endgame, which I highlighted here because we can annotate particular points on a scatter plot, is the highest earning movie related to comic books and had also the largest budget. And it didn't fall along these lines. Everything in blue is a Marvel or Walt Disney related movie, and you can see they tend to earn above average across this trend line of the budget to earnings. They're doing really well. So I anticipate we're going to continue to see comic book related movies and Marvel continuing to dominate, which is a main reason Disney picked them up. We hit this purple one, see a couple different things, and really what it's doing is that I'm using these buttons to change the particular set of visualizations with these with a container, our Vizlib container. The green one here is kind of interesting. It's a story timeline that shows you the release of movies like Superman and Batman. And as we get into the later years, you can see there are a lot of movies that started coming out that are in the top 100 as far as earnings related to comic book properties. And what I did on the background is group them by the particular studio or distributor like Warner Brothers, Walt Disney. And so you can see just kind of how they jam these things in. Just a different way to see this data that was all just in a tabular form prior. And one of the last ones here, just kind of giving you another thing to look at how we can use our container and different layouts to pull in visualizations like the KPIs, where we can put information behind a number, maybe use an icon, and have different layouts. So this is the container that I was looking through. As I clicked on the buttons, it's color coding everything. So a different way to interact. But you have to be really careful if you are using this type of interface, because if you make a snap, as we know, half of all movies created just disappear and their earnings drop in half as well. So be very careful with interfaces like that. But if you snap again, we can take it right back up to the 100 movies and the almost $55 billion that have been made with these 100 movies related to comic books. So I had a ton of fun playing around with this. And while you might not be working in the entertainment industry, you might have something that, whether it's a product, you might be an auto manufacturer and you have a particular car, the best car that you make. You can use that as an interface into your data. You're going to pull people into that area very quickly using something like this. And just to quickly look at what I'm doing here, we'll pull this apart. So here's the whole visualization. It's the KPI object. I grabbed a nice image. I have layers. I gave it nice names so I know if I'm looking at the blue stone, it's the space stone. I'm using an icon, and I actually make it empty. So I kind of painted an area, this bounding box, for when I click it to do something. And what we do with our are things is we can do actions, and that's what I'm doing this thing here. When I click on that blue area, I set a variable to change the color to blue, and then I use that particular variable in other places within my application. If I click on it, I gotta go out of edit mode. My visualizations and the container all use that to color code, to change which screen I'm on, to do whatever you want. So using actions, and you can have multiple actions as well. When you click a particular thing, our actions are really powerful and allow you to do many different things like setting selections, moving back and forward, clearing things, applying bookmarks, or I think one of the most powerful ones is setting the variables that you can use in other areas of your application. We also see a lot of the use in opening a URL. So it might be when I click the blue button now, I open up, our help desk system, and I create a new ticket. So you can use your application to have more of an operational feel by giving actions like opening external URLs. And then your Qlik app becomes a lot more powerful. So, that's what I had to show as far as a couple different stories around a couple different areas. Let me jump back so I have the slides going. Just to kind of recap, and we'll get into different questions that are coming through on the screen. I want to thank you all for bearing with me and jumping through those different examples that I have and allowing me to show you how we built some of them. And really, our job is to help you increase the adoption of your analytics. So, a lot of folks are making moves from QlikView to Qlik Sense, and you've gotten used to the way things can be built. And I found a lot of organizations, even the ones I was working with or myself when I was at Qlik, saying, yeah, well, you don't need to do that really. Qlik Sense doesn't have that capability. Why would you need it? So we ended up saying no a lot, and your organization might do that. But I found with organizations that have Vizlib that they're saying yes a lot more to what they can do. So they're adding in that level of customization, different functionality that they were either they had in the other tools or they just hadn't ever anticipated needing to use. So it's going to help pull people in because it's going to be their applications now, just not the generic white, which is fine, easy to start with, but 6 months in, they might need something to keep them coming back. And you're going to be able to build out the visualizations apps a lot faster because you have that flexibility. And we're adding in a few things that I didn't get to show here much of, like advanced analytics, that is just a simple click a button and now you're forecasting things out. Really, you're going to get to build that branded, customized, themed application that is going to keep people coming back, all without any coding necessary. I don't know how to, I can create a really poor looking web page with HTML, but I don't know CSS. I don't know JavaScript. Our teams definitely do. They build our extensions around those, but you don't need to know that. If you can use Excel, if you can use Qlik Sense, you can build these things out very quickly. And so encourage you all to check out what we have. Everything you can try for free, up to 5 users from our website. Most of what I showed today is in the Vizlib library, so you can go there, register, and download that and add that into your Qlik Sense deployment. You can try it on the Qlik Sense desktop if you have it for personal use, or deploy it into your test environment for Qlik Sense Enterprise as well. And our other tools like the self-service, finance report, and collaboration are also available to download and try for free. So let's get into a few questions. Feel free to continue to add those in. Compatible with imprinting. I saw a couple questions. Everything that I showed and everything that we make works with imprinting. It works with story mode, storytelling. And we design it using APIs that Qlik provides. So it is, if it works in Qlik, it's going to work with Vizlib. Maximum number of layers for the KPI designer. That's a great question. I'm sure there is some theoretical limit, and we've seen upwards of 75 and 80 layers. One, to manage things like that can be a little tedious because you're having to navigate through all of the different objects, but there's no real limit. It has to paint each object, so you have to be careful with that. You're really limited by, I think, the performance of your application. So tuning things on the Qlik side is going to benefit the use of all of the objects, whether it's Vizlib or native Qlik Sense. Can you build the entire dashboard with the KPI designer? That's a great question. Yes, we have seen examples of that where it's one object on the page, it's the KPI designer, and I liken it to an advanced mode for Qlik Sense, or bringing Qlik View, the kind of experience, directly into Qlik Sense, where you can put anything on the screen wherever you want. There's no grid. You can turn it on if you want to snap to things, but you have complete control in changing the kind of translucent elements. So yes, certainly you could. We actually have folks that use the KPI designer to build out mobile dashboards, and instead of using Qlik's kind of built in where it stacks the different visualizations on your phone, you can use the KPI designer to design one object, and it will fit this form of the phone and be a lot more dense in the data that it shows. A couple others here. Is it possible to get this movie app or different ones and play around with it? Again, I'll figure out a way where we can get this available for download perhaps. The data is all public data, so that should be fine. Most of it was found on Kaggle, K-A-G-G-L-E. It's a great website to find data sets to play around with, but I'll work with our team to see if we can get them shared. Sharing the slides or the recording, certainly. We're gonna get those out after this and make those available. Let's see, more questions. We have a few more minutes. If you have more questions coming in. There's a few that I'm not certain of, so I will get those over to our team. I'm not intentionally just glossing over it. I just don't even know how to answer a particular question there. Performance, there's a few things. So we actually our team just wrote up a really nice article on improving performance of your Qlik Sense applications and the Vizlib visualizations themselves. So we have some best practices that we list out. You can find all of that at our community on vizlib.com. It links over to some really important articles from Qlik as well, as far as tuning applications, data model related things, which ultimately, if your app is performant in Qlik, it will be performant with Vizlib, is what we find. There are some nuances to things like how many objects you put on the screen that we can work with you around. But we're constantly improving our products, our different visualizations, and adding in tuning and making things better on a daily basis. I think we're on a continuous release cycle, so every week we're releasing new updates and improvements to our existing products and more. And Vizlib visualizations have a Qlik certificate. Yeah, I think that's in reference to the TED program, the Trusted Extension Developer. So a number of our visualizations are certified for particular versions of Qlik Sense, which means they're guaranteed to work. I think we guarantee all of our visualizations to work, but those particular ones have been tested with Qlik in concert to make sure we're using all the appropriate APIs, and Qlik has a level of support that they add into that as well. So you can be assured that anything that you work with is going to support the version of Qlik Sense that you're on. Let's see how we're doing. I think we're coming up on time, so I will stay on board just to see if other questions come in. But again, thank you for your time. Hopefully you found this inspirational. You pull some things out of there and have some fun with your data. I will find a way to get these applications shared, whether it's through Qlik Community or through ours. And feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Twitter, and happy to help you all and help you all to improve your storytelling with Vizlib and Qlik. Thank you.